All right. So this is interview number one. I have with me Joe Drey. Welcome to the Dorsey Healthy Living Show officially. And those who are watching or listening, thank you for tuning in. I'm Jeremy Dorsey. I recently started this whole interview thing in an effort to raise awareness around the differences that we have as humans with our healthy lifestyles and kind of how we go about it to show that everybody's different, right? And so there's no one way to do things. I would say there's probably a general consensus on good ideas, but those good ideas are pretty massive as far as the amount goes. So I have with me Joe Drey, and I will kind of let him introduce himself. But Joe, who is Joe Drey?
Yeah, thank you for having me on, Jeremy. As you said, my name is Joe Drey, and I've just graduated from the University of Notre Dame about a month ago. And now I'm back home in the lovely Des Moines, Iowa, and about to head back to Notre Dame to be working with a professor in the International Development School come the fall.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, I didn't know you were doing that. That's gonna be awesome. What are you gonna be doing?
There's a couple different programs we're working on. We're still figuring out exactly what it's going to look like, but helping
Yeah.
with new programs, helping with some nonprofits he's on the boards of, and probably helping students get involved in international programming.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, that's awesome. I as well as Joe, am a Notre Dame grad, but I'm 2 years ago, so I'm kind of seasoned. Been out for a while. Haven't been back on campus in almost 2 years either, which is probably a shame. So,
Come visit me.
um, yeah, I'll try. I'll try. Hopefully, we'll have football, right? Like that would
Yeah,
be.
we'll see.
Hopefully, we'll have Notre Dame football. This Corona thing is kind of crazy right now. But yeah, so no, that's awesome. That's awesome. Here you're going back and gonna do some projects there. I don't try to think in all my time there. I don't think I ever went back and did any of that kind of stuff. I did do a project pro bono senior year, but that's kind of the extent of it. So no, that's awesome. That's awesome. So I guess we'll move right along. What do I guess actually, what more about you? Like who is Joe Dre, outside of Notre Dame? What else do you like to do?
Yeah, so I'm kind of a person I like to get involved in everything. Um, all through high school and college, I was a part of the marching band with you, where we met, Dylan Hall and marching band. So love doing that kind of stuff. I play a lot of tennis, so like staying in shape and being
Yeah.
active through that. I view myself as very spontaneous, so I just kind of do a lot of different things and try to make everything fun. Is kind of my little lifestyle motivation there.
Absolutely.
But no, I have loving family that I live with here. A younger brother who'll be a freshman at Notre Dame in the fall.
Yeah.
So it's been really nice, just even though quarantine's been crazy, but to be at home with them and spend time with them as I probably wouldn't if this hadn't happened. So
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's awesome. Yeah, that's really great. So I guess we'll move right along. First question of the fun question segment. First of potentially two. What is your ideal superpower?
okay, so this is like a non-traditional superpower. Like it's not like gonna be like flying or anything, which everyone always thinks of. But I'm gonna go with, if I can pronounce it right, omnilingualism.
I've never heard of that.
So it's like the ability to instantly speak any language.
Oh,
And I just feel like that'd be so cool for like a variety of reasons. And it's like a dope superpower, but it's also kind of like not a superpower in the traditional sense. So you wouldn't be like this like freak that like has the superpower. You just be this really awesome person with the ability to speak any language. Plus, I feel like being interested in international work like I am, there's no better way to talk to someone than their original language, which they grew up with and which they experience the world with. So I think it would open up the world for more genuine conversations. You can speak to people in their own languages. So
see, that's awesome because I'll tell you mine in a second. But uh, that's awesome because I know a little bit of Spanish, and obviously my primary language is English, but I don't know anything else besides that. So from my perspective, what did you call that? Omni what?
omnilingual, like
Omnilingual.
omnilingualism is the official term.
Omnilingualism. See, if I had that, I would probably just use it to just like eavesdrop on people's conversations. And so, if somebody speaking
Right.
German, but in this life, I don't know they're speaking German. But if I had that, then I would like it would just trigger, oh, they're speaking German. What are they saying? Are they talking about me? Are they talking about somebody else? Are they trying to take over the world? I'd be able to stop that. So I actually see that as like a pretty valuable superpower. That'd be pretty sweet. I kind
Good
of like that
marketable
one.
skill too, you know, like
Right, right.
get you places.
I don't even like. I guess at that point, like it's more than multilingual, right? On the skills resume, you put
I
omnilingual
speak
because
all
you
languages. Yeah,
you
that's
speak all languages.
and you can
So
get into whether that counts with animals or not too. But I'd like to think I'd be able to communicate with dogs and
now, if you could
yeah.
communicate with dogs, then I'd probably do that. I was always wondering what my dog was used to say to me.
Yeah.
Uh,
But I'm gonna
uh,
count that as a language. So
that's fair. That's fair. I like that. My superpower would be, and I've stuck with this since I was a kid, would be telekinesis. I've always loved telekinesis, and just like being able to pick something up with my mind would be sweet. And it's not out of just like being lazy. I just think it's super cool. So like,
just like the Force in Star Wars.
right, remotes across the room. Oh, boom, remote right here. It's that easy, right here in my hands. But the cooler thing is, and I love your opinion because I usually get a lot of backlash on this when I say it, but do you think those who have telekinesis, because they can pick things up with their mind, I could technically fly, right? Because I could just pick myself up with my mind. Eh? Eh? Right? You don't seem like you like it that much.
I think it's gonna be like I'm doing this exactly as the Force, right? Like Yoda can't fly. He can like jump really high,
This is true.
but I've never seen him just like straight up flying. But I mean, you could train yourself. I think if you worked on it, you could eventually do it.
I don't understand. I understand that logic, but I don't understand the logic behind me not being able to pick myself up if I can pick something else up.
Well, I mean, just imagine like strength. You can lift other things, but you can't lift yourself.
I can do pull-ups though.
It's true. It's
I can do
true.
a lot of
But like
pull-ups. Maybe
like
not a
the
lot. I don't
bars,
want people on.
you know?
I don't want people on here like saying, "All right, come out here and do 50 pull-ups."
Well, I can do
I
like 3, so you got me beat.
yeah, I mean, I can do like a decent amount, but that's like picking myself up. So
Do
I
you
don't know.
worry now that like if you had telekinesis, you would lose your motivation to work out and you know exercise throughout the day?
I don't know because I love exercising. Granted, like telekinesis could technically make all of that easier.
Like
So
no-handed push-ups would be kind of cool.
right, right. But then like I wouldn't have the muscles to show for it. I would have like the brain power, but not the muscles. So there's like I might like, you know, throw 500 on the bench press just to impress some people using the telekinesis. But nah, I would still want the muscles, so I would definitely still work out. So
I'm just thinking like from a sports perspective too. You're a big baseball guy. Like just imagine being a pitcher with telekinesis. You could just
yeah,
throw some crazy stuff.
bro, imagine being a hitter with telekinesis. I could be Barry Bonds and beat his home run record. I just make the whole
I
ball
feel
go
like
out
you
of the
have to
park.
make contact, right?
Yeah, but as soon as I make contact, I'm just gonna make sure it goes out of the park.
That's true.
So, but
True.
also think about it. If I was a hitter and had telekinesis and a pitcher threw the ball, I could just make sure it hits my bat.
You just slow it down so it stops right in front of the plate and just take
Exactly.
off on it.
Yeah, and then I'd have 1,000 home runs. So that'd be kind of fun.
I think they'd stop pitching to you.
Probably. Probably. That's fair. Okay, I can't fly and I can't use it to play sports, but I can use it when I work out. So I think that's the agreement we came to. So your second fun question is if you could compare yourself to any animal, what would it be and why?
I feel like if you would asked a younger Joe this question, I'd have picked like a cheetah or something like super cool. But I'm gonna go with squirrel because I understand myself better now. I think squirrels get a really bad rap as being like squirrely or other adjectives they use with squirrel. But like they're agile, they're quick, they always land on their feet. If like you watch videos of squirrels in slow motion, they like can identify the point where they fall and they'll always land on their feet and like every time. So they're
Sounds
like
like a cat.
super quick. Yeah, they have that same kind of cat-like reflexes. And as well as they're resourceful, they store up food for the winter, which brings me to the next point. They love food, which I love food.
That's fair.
Um, and I just feel like, I don't know, no one really hates squirrels. They just kind of do their own thing and they're tenacious and get things done.
They're also
But
really fast.
they're
So
super fast. And if you look up squirrel, or sorry, Drey, my last name in the dictionary, it actually means home of squirrels. So I feel like I have that connection to squirrels as well.
so I can already tell the theme of this. Your superpower and your animal comparison are practical. Mine are just like very fairy tale-ish. Because my animal is a monkey, but not for any of the practical reasons, except for the fact that they also have opposable thumbs and they can climb. Uh, and a monkey's been my favorite animal since I was a kid. So it still remains to this day. But basically anybody in the primate family would work.
Would you be like what kind though? Like big giant monkey, like gorilla kind of monkey, or like
No,
a small like finger
no,
monkey, or like
small finger monkey, like the ones like if I had a pet, if I could have a pet monkey, the one that just like hung out on my shoulders, I would definitely do that. That would be a go. I
that's
would
fair.
do that.
The smaller
So
monkeys are really cool because their tails. Like if you ever watch them
right,
climb the trees, their tails like another arm.
exactly.
They like
Like nobody could catch me if I were a small monkey.
you
Like
got trees around you, you're gone.
granted, if I were a gorilla, everybody would be afraid of me, so nobody would want to be around. So that I mean that's kind of sad, but also like really intimidating at the same time. So I don't know, but that's okay. Regardless, it's clear that your answers are way on a different spectrum than my answers. So, but that's all right. That's all right. So
Oh, I like yours. Those are fun.
that's
You could
thank
be
you.
a monkey with telekinesis, and that just be.
Okay, if I were a monkey with telekinesis, I would take over the world.
I think you would too.
So I would definitely do that. So, but yeah, so we'll go ahead and get into the main event part of this interview show, Dorsey Healthy Living Show. The nitty gritty, as I like to call it. And so, over the last 3 or 4 months, you've told me about a couple things that you've been really into that I find really interesting. One of them is a Zumba class that you started. You and some friends started at Notre Dame this year in the new Bomber Hall, I believe. Shout out Bomber Hall, shout out Notre Dame, shout out Dillon Hall, home of the Dillon Knights. That's where I stayed. Um, but so yeah, why don't you talk to us a little bit about how you and your friends started at Zumba and kind of where that came from, what it turned into, and yeah.
Yeah. So before I get started, everyone always says it isn't Zumba, and they're right. It's not Zumba.
Okay.
Uh, but we're gonna we call it Zumba anyway because that's more fun. And I think Zumba is what you want it to be. Zumba is what you make it. So let's make it rock.
Nice.
My friend Chris and I, who's a fellow RA with me in Dillon Community in Bomber Hall, we were sitting one day in our room after like a long day of working with kids, and because we lived in a new dorm, we were trying to find the new like fun tradition that would get everyone engaged and involved, and just give some of the guys something fun to do. And we weren't even thinking about that. We were just sitting watching YouTube, and all of a sudden, a video came on for the Fitness Marshall is his username.
Yep.
Look him up. He has awesome dance videos.
Yep. Shout out Caleb Marshall.
Caleb Marshall, he's awesome, and he leads dance videos. He's very, very good, much better than Chris and I were. But the song came on. I forget what this first song was.
Was it Dessert?
It wasn't Dessert. That's my favorite one, but it wasn't Dessert. I think it was Without Me by Halsey.
Okay.
But it came on, and Chris and I were like, heck yeah, let's do this. So we're dancing like really terribly to this song, but we're having a blast. And my door's open. I'm in my room, and some of our residents walk down the hall, and they just give us like the "What are you doing?" look. And they come in, and they're like, "That is the weirdest thing. What are you guys doing?" We're like, "No, this is awesome." So we invite them to join. They're like, and one kid in particular, he's a freshman. He says, "No, I'm not joining that. No one would ever do that." So Chris and I look at each other, and we're like, "Bet." And so then it was on. So the next day, we just invited a couple more people to do it, and a couple more people to do it. And we had like 10 people. And so we're like, told this freshman, like, "Hey, look, people are doing this. This is fun." He's like, "No, like, it's not going to build on." And we're like, "We're going to do this every day at midnight for the rest of the year."
Wow.
And so we started inviting more people. And then within a week, we outgrew my room. So I had to go to the rector, and we told him that we wanted to do the Zumba every night at midnight, and we needed a bigger space to do it. So he gave us the 2-4 reserved every night at midnight.
Nice.
And we started building up our groups and building up favorite songs.
And what's the 2-4?
The 24-hour area. Sorry, it's Notre Dame or parietal areas where boys and girls can both be big lounge type area.
Yeah.
And so when we kept doing that, we kept sending messages to the guys in the dorm, and it grew to about 30, 40 guys in the dorm. All doing this together every night at midnight. And then one thing led to another. We started inviting more dorms. And by the time we were done, we had about 250, 300 people joining us some nights at midnight to just do a Zumba or dance songs with us.
That's kind of awesome.
Yeah. And the best part about it was, you get in shape, you get active. I mean, it's a decent workout. We were always kind of sweating afterwards. Yeah. Chris was training for Bengal bouts, and you can ask him about it. He says it helped him get in shape, and he lost like 5 or 6 pounds.
And for those who don't know, Bengal bouts is boxing at Notre Dame.
Yeah, he was training for this big boxing tournament, and they had their captain photos where they had to take shirtless photos. So he was trying to get in shape, and so this is one of the avenues we did that. So it was not only good for that, but also just camaraderie wise, we achieved our goal because every night at like 12:30 when we were done, we'd sit around for, another half hour to an hour just talking, catching up with guys and how it was going. So while it wasn't the best for our sleep schedule, uh, it was really good for getting to know the guys better, and kind of unwinding after a long day.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's kind of twofold, like you said. You get the activity part, but also the camaraderie built, which is, I mean, and even it started you and a friend, but then kind of grew to people that you may not have known. You kind of build this community around it, so that's awesome too. And it's all just inspired around dancing, and then before you know it, it's been half an hour and you're all drenched in sweat because you've been moving for the last 30 minutes, which I think is the goal in life, right? As far as people's activity goes, is like just find some way to get out and move, where that's going for a walk, dancing to videos, whether you like being in the gym, doing yoga, whatever it is. So that's pretty awesome. I definitely, obviously I graduated 2 years ago, so I couldn't be a part of that, but that would have been, that was super, that would have been super awesome to kind of be a part of, and just kind of show up. So
Yeah, it was addicting too because we kept getting better, right? Like I still wouldn't say I'm a very good dancer, but like we started memorizing the songs, and we had our formal dance, and we had a group of 40 guys in the front doing like a synchronized dance to like Katy Perry and all these different artists with their music. So it was really fun to do that as well.
Yeah, you have to make sure that you all go to each other's weddings so that you can basically flash mob at everybody's weddings.
I'll still have them all memorized. Yeah, but it's going to be
That'll be
lifelong
awesome.
dance every time I hear those songs. So
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. That's awesome. So, and I guess the other side of healthy living is our nutrition, right? And so I know, you've either started doing research or you're about to do some research around some nutrition stuff. So why don't you tell us just, obviously what you can, whatever you're comfortable sharing about the research that you've done around that kind of stuff.
yeah, so I've always been fascinated in food research. Des Moines, where I'm from, is the home of the World Food Prize, which is sort of the Nobel Prize of food security issues. So in high school, I got really involved in that and just to really fall in love with every aspect of food, from my own personal eating of food, which I really enjoy, to like all aspects of nutrition and health from food, and then also the social aspects of like, you gather at table, you share food, and then even to religious aspects of, I mean, I'm Catholic, and then you think of the main part of the Catholic Mass is the Eucharist,
Mm-hmm.
which is, in a sense, a meal, kind of commemorating the Last Supper. So just food, just how tied up it is into every culture, into every, a lot of religions have very similar things, and just the importance is based around food, and every culture has their own take on it. So food has always fascinated me for a variety of reasons. So throughout college, I've been kind of experimenting around with what kind of food research I want to do. And what I sort of ended on was, over this past summer, I was in New Zealand, in South Auckland, doing research, interviewing people from Samoa and the other Pacific countries around New Zealand that have moved to New Zealand,
Yeah.
and just trying to understand better their food decisions. What sort of sparked my interest for that was, everyone views New Zealand as this super developed country, and it really is. They outrank the United States in a lot of factors, but they have a really two distinct populations there. They have the European, former European people living in New Zealand, which is sort of the main population, but then there's the more indigenous populations, such as the Maori, that are the indigenous people of New Zealand, and then the people from the other Pacific islands that have moved to New Zealand. And unfortunately, there's a big disparity between health outcomes between the Pacifica people and the other more European New Zealand group. For example, rates of diabetes are 3 times higher among the Pacific group,
Wow.
reaching rates of nearly 10% of the Pacific population has diabetes. Life expectancy is over 5 years lower for Pacifica people compared to the rest of the New Zealand population. And then there's other crazy statistics, like 67% of Pacific adults in New Zealand are obese.
Right.
And over 19% are disabled in some way, whether that's from being so overweight they're not able to participate in life the way they normally would, or losing limbs from diabetes or other sort of cardiovascular incidents that cause them to not be able to live life the way they normally should. So I was really interested in understanding this population that is now living in this super developed country, but yet is really struggling to eat healthy or exercise healthy, and try to understand why that is, and if what ways you can address that with policy or not.
Yeah.
So
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I think, even though that, the rates are a little bit higher over there, I think that's kind of what I'm aiming, stateside to also tackle. And maybe not as specific or to that degree, but just like in general, like, what things can we do to kind of allow people to see a healthier lifestyle without it being a chore, and more of it just being that's what is in people's lives. So no, that's pretty awesome. How much are you continuing to that research or?
yeah, so I've been in contact a little bit with some of my contacts that I met, both in New Zealand. I was in Samoa for a little bit, and I was talking to them. And I'm still in contact with them, still thinking about these problems. But through that project, I really got interested in the importance of empathy in policy and involving the people your policy intends to help in the policymaking process.
Mhm.
From my humble opinion, only I've studied this for a short while. I think one of the biggest problems we see in New Zealand, and then once again the United States, is we have a lot of different communities that are under the sort of the same recommendations from health experts
Right.
for certain things. So in New Zealand, the government has done a great job in trying to implement food nutrition labels, prescriptions for healthy living, and a bunch of other educational campaigns hoping to improve the outcome of obesity within the country. And what they've seen is it's been super effective for the European population within New Zealand, who it makes sense for in their context. They've had a lot lower rates, people understanding what they're eating more, and there's a general want to eat healthier within the country. Unfortunately, it has not been as effective for the Pacific populations. There's a variety of reasons for that. When I had my interviews with people, a lot of them said, the food and nutrition labels are great, but they don't share food as sort of in the same way that the European populations don't, more about sharing love with one another.
Okay.
And the more food they can get, the better, because if they run out of food at a social event, that's the greatest they could possibly. So they want to make sure they have a lot of food, and because they, unfortunately have lower incomes than the rest of the population, they're going to buy sometimes this cheaper food to make sure they have enough that they
Right.
can share love in the proper way with their community. Another really interesting example of this is with their gyms. Whereas in the United States and in the European population in New Zealand, we're really used to these individualized plans where I have my own plan and I work at the gym, and I can kind of make decisions for my own health that way. In Samoa, and Samoans in New Zealand in particular, it's a very family-oriented culture. And so one of the people I was talking to often said if they're on a diet and they'd eat less than they normally would, the rest of the family starts asking them, what's wrong, or why they're eating like birds, or why they're
Right.
eating like squirrels, or if they're okay because they're not sharing in this family communal meal, like they're maybe supposed to in the traditional culture. So there's a real importance of understanding these factors, I think, for policymakers and bringing in full families into solutions,
Right.
interviewing specific people within these populations that are struggling with issues of obesity and saying, what works for you? What isn't working for you with these? Which of these policies do you like, not like? And then I think there's also a huge benefit of looking for bright spots, as they're called.
Hmm.
I think the book Switch, if you've read that book or not, talks a lot about these. I forget the author's name. I'll look it up later.
Yeah, I haven't read that one.
But it sort of talks about these bright spots being, say I go to New Zealand and I'm in a Pacific population, right? And, if it's 67% are obese, right? Then there's still a decent percentage in population that's not obese. So instead of me coming in and trying to prescribe solutions for them, what if I go talk to, maybe the 10% of people there that are super in shape and healthy, living really healthy?
Right.
So, what things are you doing that allow you to be super healthy? Why are you different than everyone else? What are you doing? And try to understand those things. And most likely those solutions that they're doing will be in line with their culture.
Okay.
And then you can start trying to apply those to a greater scale. So
Yeah.
it's sort of a ground up approach rather than prescribing down health
Right.
solutions for the entire country.
Right. No, and I think that's smart. I think, going to those who, especially in a country where it's overwhelmingly one-sided, if you go to the small population and see what they've done, it might be easier to try to implement that instead of figuring out what is going wrong elsewhere. So, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's a great topic. And I think, I think that's something that I am hoping to, get to the bottom of myself and help others get to the bottom of individualize for themselves over here. So no, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I do appreciate, you taking some time out of your day today to come on here and speak with me and, you know, answer our fun questions and tell us who you are. Basically show your perspective on things because I think everybody's different. It's like I said at the beginning, everybody's different. And so, I do appreciate you coming on here and taking some time to speak with me today.
No, thank you for letting me ramble on about my research. It's all work in progress. Always trying to learn more. So
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. Me too. The learning definitely never stops. So, for that, I thank you all for tuning in today and listening or watching, depending on where you are. Come back next time. We'll have more interviews just like this, showing different people's perspectives and the things they're interested in. Because it's like I said, and I'll continue to say it. Everybody's different. No one person's the same, and you're not alone if you're going through this journey, starting this journey, whatever it may be. So, until next time on the Dorsey Healthy Living Show, for Joe Drey, I'm Jeremy Dorsey. We'll see you later.